5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You're listening to Tabletop and Beyond with your host, Justin.
But before we get started, how was your Geek Week?
And co-hosts Dan and Jason.
You have to be willing to let the dice help you tell the story.
Okay, look, this year I'm going to stop mispronouncing words. Join us as we cover board games to war games and beyond.
And welcome back to Tabletop and Beyond. I'm your host, Justin, Dan, and Jason. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry podcast. Was that lame? It was a little lame.
It was good. It was lame in a good way.
Yeah, good lame. It's lame is lame. Yeah.
It is the holidays.
It's only lame if we keep talking about it.
That's right. Exactly.
We're going to make it lamer.
Go ahead.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Okay. You go ahead. You're the host.
Well, it is the holidays, and we've got a fun show for you guys. It's basically a not repeat necessarily, but a this year's annual Santa's wish list, where we come up with the things that we wish that the big guy would bring for us. If you could fit it in his sleigh, that'd be great. Yep. Speaking of sleigh, guys, I have to tell you, I went and saw Violent Night the other day.
No, I wanted to go see that.
Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, it looks hilarious.
It's awesome. Like, it's so over the top awesome. Like, it is Santa Claus.
I was going to see if you wanted to go see it too.
I'll go see it again. We should go see it.
Is that good?
Dude, I would just have so much fun with it. It was like Santa Claus meets Die Hard.
So I heard it was Home Alone if everything that actually happened in Home Alone was for real.
Yeah.
Like if you actually got hit in the head with a can and stabbed in the foot with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's definitely some like serious Home Alone homages in there, but then there's like a whole Die Hard feel to it too.
Nice.
Where you've got like these terrorists that are taking over this mansion, and Santa Claus is basically John McClane.
Yeah, nice.
And it's awesome. And there's some just amazing one-liners in that movie. Like he picks up the sledgehammer and goes, "Looks like it's time for some season's beatings."
Yep.
So, it was great. Good times. David Harbour, by the way, who most people know from Stranger Things. He was the sheriff in Stranger Things.
Hopper.
He is Sheriff Hopper. He was Santa Claus in the Violent Night, and he does an amazing job with it. Like, absolutely amazing. So, it's very good. And John Leguizamo is the bad guy, and I was like, okay, but he's just so over the top. Like, it's amazing. The whole thing's over the top, super cheesy, which makes it like super fun at the same time.
Cool.
Good times. Need to go see it for sure. It's ridiculous. So.
Sounds good.
Violent Night. Go see it. All right. Well, anyway, like we said, we've got a great show. It's our Santa's wish list, and we're excited to share with you some of the things that we wish that we're going to be getting under the tree. But first, how's your Geek Week? Dan, kick us off, buddy.
All right. Well, I've been leveling up my painting skills.
Ooh.
I invested in a Star Wars Legion Imperial Army. And I also, because I bought the Inferno Squad, you guys may know Inferno Squad from the Star Wars Battlefront console game, and PC game. And these guys are dressed like TIE fighter pilots, because that's one of the things they do. They're also ground forces. But they have their own unique logos, right? So I went and I ordered through Etsy from Canada a little sheet that had all of these little Imperial logos, including the Inferno Squadron logos. And I thought that these were like peel and stick, like stickers. And I had to level
transfers.
Up. They're transfers. I had to level up my modeling skills. I had no idea what I bought. And I ruined a couple of them. That means you're learning, people, when you ruin something. But you have to cut them out with an X-Acto knife, and they're so small. We're talking about shoulder logos, like shoulder patches for 28 millimeter minis. So these the circumference of these are like 1.5, 2 millimeters max. And they're so small, and you got to soak them in water. You have to soak them in water to get the little plastic.
It's like
thing
it's the old school tattoos, right?
Yes, I didn't know this. And then, and that goes on to my second Geek Week is I've leveled up using gloss coat, top coat material. I'm using Testor stuff that was off the shelf at a hobby store. But I'm not only am I making the Inferno Squadron, their helmets and their boots and their gloves look real glossy, shiny Imperial style, but I also have the Imperial Death Troopers. They're black. And if you remember these guys, these are the black stormtroopers from Rogue One. They are shiny all over the place. And I've really been enjoying using the top coat to pick out, to know what's screen accurate, what was matte colored on their uniforms and what was glossy on their uniforms, and getting that as close to what was on screen as possible.
Nice. I think that you have leveled up now a tier beyond me in your painting skills. It sounds like you're really getting into this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. A lot. That means a lot coming from you, because you guys were running. You guys got me into this because I'm like, there's something to this, and I'm not only drinking the Kool-Aid, I'm mixing the Kool-Aid and passing it around. But I really want to post photos of these Imperials. I've got a lot more work to do on my shore troopers that are sandy, dusty, dirty guys. But I want to finish them up more sooner than later. But they're starting. I essentially had to start over on my Death Troopers because I primed them at black and they looked so good. I was like, well, they're done. And then then they weren't. Long story short, black primer is not enough. Even when you think they're done, you really need some other tones in there. You need grays and stuff like that. And that's where, speed paint, contrast paint came in and helped me out. And even a Death Trooper, which is pretty much the entire uniform is black, except for the edge of their guns, and they have a couple green lights. You still do need to zenithal prime them to get other tones. So, but yeah, it's all been painting for me since the last time I reported out on a Geek Week, and my posture is suffering for it. So that's great.
That's awesome. I haven't done transfer sheets yet either. Mostly because I don't think that they have a lot of transfer sheets on AOS models. That's mostly a 40K thing.
Yep.
But that's awesome. You watch the videos of how to do it, and they make it look super easy, but I don't think it's that easy the first couple times you do it.
I always fail.
They're so small. My fingers are so big. I had to use 2 tweezers to just lift the teeny tiny piece of plastic up out of the water. So I'm sure there's better ways I could be doing it. But man, it really hurt. I was glad that the Death Troopers have no logos. I'm like, oh good, no logos. We can move on. But transfers, it's a real skill and you have to learn it. I learned that you can stick them on just with water and they slide around and you can position them really well. But then if you don't mop it properly, it can separate from your model before you even start putting the top coat on. And that can be problematic. Or if you put a little top coat down first and you put the transfer on there and maybe you put it's off just by a hair, you're going to have a hard time sliding it over a hair.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing decals, especially if they're doing sci-fi things or army things. It's just one more skill in your arsenal. And man, these guys look so cool now with their shiny glossy helmets with logos on their shoulders and their helmets. It's really, it works in my opinion. So it was worth it. It was painful, but worth it.
Definitely.
In my opinion.
I mean, you can do all the freehand you want, but it doesn't make up sometimes for some of these transfer sheets that are printed out that are nice and crisp, and especially that small, right? So,
and you have to learn how to transfer onto spherical objects, shoulders and helmets. Yeah. I mean, come on, and have it not have wrinkles. It takes real work, but I'm excited about it now. I'm really gonna. Nice. I think they're really gonna pop on the table. They probably won't photograph as well, but I think they'll look great on the table.
Because of the gloss or what?
I need to get a better camera than my iPhone. I'm having a hard time getting the real. What I see when I'm double magnified, right? I've got a double magnified headgear that I wear when I paint, and everything looks so big in my field of view. And then even with a pretty recent iPhone with a really good zoom in, I don't think mine has the macro lens though. I guess I'm not getting a new iPhone, but I need a better way to photograph zoom in details. Otherwise, a lot of my work is just lost in the the fuzz of the visual periphery. You get so small of details that you can't really notice, but I notice because I had it blown up how many times in front of my eyes for hours. So, but I'm excited about it. They do work. It's a doable thing. And when I sat down to do it, I was ruining it, and a few YouTube videos later, I was nailing it. So it's a doable thing. That's my Geek Week.
Cool.
Nice, very good, very good. Jason, how was yours?
Good. So I finally broke down, and Sekiro finally went on sale again. It's one of those games like Grand Theft Auto 5. Like the thing has never dropped below like $40.
Right.
That thing. How old is that game now? That game's like
10 years old now?
Yeah, super old. But it's just so popular and has such user base. Like, there's no reason to drop that thing on sale. People are still buying it. Well, Sekiro is kind of that same way. That's made by From Software, the same guy who directed the Dark Souls series and the Demon Souls.
Yep.
It was in between. I think it was in between Dark Souls 3. No, it was in between Bloodborne. I don't remember. Anyways, it's unrelated to the Dark Souls series, but it's the same kind of gameplay, same kind of feeling where you have everything's at stake. If you die, you kind of lose experience, and you lose you lose the things that you're earning, your money and stuff. And it's one of those games that's incredibly punishing. It's all about timing in terms of the combat mechanics. You have to learn, every enemy, watch for how they respond. There's no. It's a samurai game. So you're a shinobi, and you're a shinobi, and it's all about parrying. So it's very focused on sword play. It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's very challenging, but I really am enjoying it. Really digging it. I got it on. It was on sale for $29.99, and I had like $10 in Microsoft points or something from turning in the weekly quests and all that stuff. So I got it for like $20, and absolutely worth it. Love it. I've had so many friends that I play the Soul series with that have been like, why have you not played this game yet? Jason. And finally here I am, and they saw me, and of course, the first thing they saw right when I booted it up is I'm starting to get a flood of messages from my friends that are like, finally, and so
Nice.
Yeah. But it's a great game. Love it. It's on sale right now if you're interested. Definitely worth it if you like, very raw kind of melee combat that's very challenging and very punishing, but also you feel like you're getting better at the game as you go on, because you are.
Yeah.
So love it. Love that game. The second thing I did was I cleaned up my printing station. My wife's been complaining about the resin, the smell of the resin and everything since I got the printer. So I first, I don't know if upgrade is the right word, but I switched to a less stinky resin.
Okay.
And then I think she started to smell, not her, me too. I could smell it, really could. I was just kind of trying to ignore it. I could smell the IPA, the isopropyl alcohol that was mixed with the older resin for a long time. So I finally just cleaned up. I cleaned my table off. I took the old resin out and the alcohol baths out and got them away, got brand new alcohol. I got a magnetic stir, which, how those work. They're normally for like science labs that they stir liquids in beakers. And it's
That's
really
cool.
good. It's really good for cleaning resin off minis, because you just take the little kind of Tupperware container with IPA in it, and you put your resin minis in it. You drop this tiny little magnetic like pill almost down to the bottom of the thing, put it on this magnetic plate, and then turn the knob up, and it basically just catches the little pill and spins it, which agitates the water or agitates the
interesting.
alcohol. So a magnetic stir is anywhere from $20 to $200, right? So I got like a $20 one, and a Tupperware container and a bunch of alcohol, and so for probably about $35, I got a little washing station, handmade, do-it-yourself washing station. And oh my gosh, the smell is it's back to where it should be. Like now I even had my wife go down there right before the podcast, and she kind of confirmed that it's way better now. So
That's good.
yeah, I'm hoping that I can take a little less flack for my printing that's going on, and I'll be a little more, now that my station's cleaned up, I'll just be a little more enticed to continue to print some really cool stuff. So that was what I did this week.
Yeah. Nice. Very good. Very good. Happy wife, happy life, right?
Yep, there you go.
Very good.
About you?
I started playing today the game High on Life. Have you heard of this game?
Yes.
So this is the game that was done by the creator of Rick and Morty,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and it is
I'm
as it pushes.
That's
the
one with the like bug
boundaries.
gun, right? It's like
Yes.
every gun's like a weird bug or something.
Yes, and they all have a talking personality. And what is the guy's name? Justin Roiland, is that right? Justin Roiland. He's kind of the one that helped create Rick and Morty. He put out his company Squanch Games that developed this game and put it out. And it's an Xbox exclusive right now. So kind of interesting. And it's a lot of fun, but I mean, it's like I booted it up. You can play it on cloud games, so I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I heard about this game. I booted up, and within like 2 minutes, I'm like, I cannot play this game in front of my kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured that when I saw it was the Rick and Morty guys.
Oh yeah, like it was. I mean, like F-bombs and
you know what's funny about? I love Rick and Morty.
yeah,
It's hilarious. The problem is the only time I ever really see Rick and Morty is I'd be in like on travel in a hotel, and I'd just turn up like Adult Swim or whatever,
yeah,
and you watch Rick and Morty, and it's always edited. Like they just bleep it, right?
Right.
There's nowhere I can find actually getting bleeped, edited Rick and Morty episodes.
right.
Like
Yeah.
you just can't. Any streaming service, anywhere you buy them, they are unedited, and it is like F-bomb city
Yeah,
on those
yeah.
shows.
So, like, it's really funny. I mean, the writing is hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny. And you're like playing this like alien Rick and Morty episode, essentially. Like, I mean, it's not Rick and Morty, but the very thematic, and it's like it's a lot of fun. But you're just like, I cannot play this in front of the kids.
Yeah, it's just
like
too much.
at all. Like it's just like it's too much, and it's very adult centered. I mean, it's not raunchy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not very sexual or anything like that. It's just a lot of F-bombs and funny kind of jokes that adults would get. So, but right now it's got a 9 out of 10 rating on Steam with like 3,000 reviews. And,
so it's not Xbox exclusive then if it's on.
Yeah, Windows. Sorry, it's not. Yeah, but Windows.
Got it.
So it says platforms: Xbox One, Series X, Series S, Microsoft Windows.
Oh, I got it.
So yeah, but yeah. So I mean, you can't get it if you're playing PlayStation, I guess, right now. But it's very popular and it's pretty wild, and it's just like so random. Like there's one achievement that I got that I was playing. This kid comes out and started just like yelling at me. It's like this kid bug, and I'm like, dude, stop yelling at me. And then he's just like, you can't kill me, you can't do it. Like and started like insulting me. So I killed him because I'm like, dude, stop. So I killed this kid. And this guy's like, whoa, I cannot believe you just did that. You're such a monster, But then I got an achievement that said, yeah, they don't let you do that in Fallout. So
nice.
it was pretty funny. And then, like, the next thing you know is, like, you start talking to his mom, and she's like, nah, it's all right. He was always, like, taunting people, so he got what he deserved. Besides, he was 30 years old. Yeah. So, yeah,
Wasn't
okay.
a kid.
Yeah, wasn't a kid.
Did they have voice actors that overlap with that show?
Yes, Justin Roiland is the voice actor of the gun, and he sounds just like Morty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and apparently they've got some other really high-profile voice actors. I can't remember who they are off the top of my head, but it's like if you heard them, like you know them from other games and like cartoons and things like that. So it's pretty big. One of the interesting things, Jason, is that they were getting some flack on using AI art in their game.
Yeah, let's save that for another episode.
Yeah. So
I've got some strong opinions.
I do too, and I think it's really interesting because I've seen a lot of people saying like the lightning strike that has come down on AI art has been so fast and so swift. It hasn't even been fair to like the discussion of it, right?
Right.
It's just so hard and fast.
That's kind of why I want to wait a little bit before we talk about this topic. Let's watch some evolution or some maturation in the topic itself.
Let's put a pin in it. Let's put a pin in that one.
So, but that is, I think we do need to talk about it because I think it's really interesting.
We do.
We'll
do it at the first of the year, then we can lose half of our listeners and start from scratch.
Start the year off right, people.
Episode 1,
Who knows?
Descents.
Exactly. All right, so that was the first one. I started playing that today, and probably played it for like a little bit before I realized my kids are right here, so I can't play it. So I need to pick it up again in a little bit. It's really kind of interesting. The next one that I watched, so this is kind of not really like, I don't know how to explain this. It was a Western. I watched a Western on Amazon Prime. And I know that that's not necessarily like sci-fi.
Is that the one with the
Cumberbatch? No, that's the something dog one.
Okay.
I watched The English. Okay, now The English has Emily Blunt in it. She's the main actress.
Sold.
Dude, she is so good in this. Like, I think she's my favorite actress.
She's pretty good.
Like,
I'm self-editing right now.
Yeah, so that's so funny. So she.
Let's just 2 words: Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins.
So and she
Mary frickin' Poppins.
She was obviously really good in The Quiet Place 1 and 2, like really good in that.
Yeah.
And she was freaking amazing in Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, one of the best underrated movies ever.
I showed that to my daughter over Thanksgiving, and she's like, "This is an amazing movie." I'm like, "I know." And supposedly there's like a sequel that was supposed to be made, but who knows where it is right now.
So side tangent real quick on that.
Yep.
Did you know those suits they wore? Those were real suits that were like 80-some pounds.
Yeah, I read an article about it. Did you read that same article?
Yeah, Annie read it and told me. I don't read.
Where she was like breaking down, like Emily Blunt was breaking down. She's like, "I don't think I can do this." And Tom Cruise leans over to her and is like, just stop being a pussy.
Yeah, suck it up.
What?
Yeah, I mean, he said it like she's like laughing about it, you know, and he like said it in a nice way, you know what I mean? But he's like, you just got to kind of suck it up and get through it, and that was like his way of saying it to her, and it made her laugh and realize that it's not the end of the world and she'll make it.
Yeah, all he had to do was, describe that she needed to vet her methamphetamines or whatever, right? Sorry. I'll stop.
Anyway,
so
I don't know which is worse, me making fun of his religion or you guys using the P word.
Yeah. Anyway, she's in this show. It's 6 episodes called The English. Just amazing cinematography in this. It was a nice slow burn. Like there was like some good action that was in there, but it wasn't heavy on the Western tropes. Do you know what I mean? And so I felt like it just was a very, very well told story, and at the end, like it hit emotional, paid dirt. Like just such a great masterclass in storytelling and how to like handle character arcs and things like that. It was really, really, really good. Really, really, really good. So I know that's not necessarily kind of like, fantasy or sci-fi related, but I'm a sucker for a good Western, and this was one of the best, in my opinion. So you guys should check it out if you got the time.
I know, man. It's hard to beat the Red-Headed Stranger starring Willie Nelson.
Nice. Good times there.
Yep.
Good times there. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our Geek Week. I think that we've got someone special coming down from the North Pole.
Ho, ho, ho. Sorry. Tabletop and Beyond News begins now. I'm really just going to draw the cue out as long as I can.
So what's awesome,
kidding.
Dan, is I was trying to draw it out a little bit longer so you could have time to hit the button.
And I was
you beat
almost
me.
on time.
Yeah.
I was
So
pretty much
you're
on
almost
time
early.
this time. Yeah, I know.
You're like
I was
early.
early. Well, I didn't trust the buffer on my phone because it has betrayed me in the past.
Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. High production value, people. Yes, for those playing the home game. Yeah, it's an iPhone next to a microphone. Yeah, we're rolling with gold here. We're going deep.
I think they already knew that, Dan.
Speaking of gold, our first item of news I'm really excited about. Today, we're recording this in mid to late December, a few days before Christmas. Army Painter announced today that they are doing speed paint metallics. So a lot of people, I love metallics and I like speed paint. So for me, this is two great tastes that taste great together. This is first of its kind in the industry. There's not an equivalent right now from Citadel. So that's an exciting thing. And there's a great YouTube video. Look up Army Speed Painter Speed Paint Metallics, and you'll find the video. I love their YouTube videos because the CEO of Army Painter is so enthusiastic about his products and his product lines. He gets excited about it, and he brings in the main studio painter, and there's also the usual sales guys involved in who do the comm stuff, which is great too. But it's really exciting. They're coming out with gold, silver, and bronze. All three of them look really great. If you're painting something that's all metal, it's prime and go. It's prime and go, and it's great to hear the chemists or the guys who were designing the chemistry behind the paint talk about their products and how much they like it and how proud they are of their product lines. And so it's really cool that the Army Painter is doing that. So check it out.
So I'll be really interested to see how this works, because your normal speed paint style is that it pools where it needs to, which gives it the opaqueness where it needs to be dark and shadows.
Yep.
And it thins out where it needs to give that transparency in the higher parts, which why you zenithal highlight your miniature so that you can take advantage of the higher and darker values of the paint that you have on the miniature, right? I'm curious to see how that'll work with metallics.
Yeah, you can watch him do it on their video.
Mm-hmm.
He does a matte white, like just a flat white prime. Doesn't do a zenithal, and he just paints 3 minis with the 3 colors and sets them down, and those are the ones that you can see how the effect looks. It's a good effect, with one coat. I mean, obviously, in 90% of the time, you're not going to just do one paint, but I abuse metallics. I over metallicize my minis way too much. I'm always mixing metallics with other things, with other speed paints, with other basic acrylic paints, and so I'm super excited. And you can just watch them on the video, and then they put them up. They do close-ups, so you can see how it looks, and it looks like you did a really good coat of metallic, and then you covered it with a nice wash that didn't pool up weird. I've been putting washes on metallics lately, and sometimes they pool up in weird places. But I didn't see any of those weird pools, obviously, with the speed paint. So get on YouTube, people. Go Army Painter Speed Paint Metallics and check it out. And they're going to be competitively priced, I can imagine, because Army Painter comes in at usually roughly half the price as Citadel. So it's not even a heavy investment. We're talking like $4 a bottle. And they last a long time. I have thrown away very few bottles in my time painting.
Very good.
Yep. Getting into the Hollywood sphere, Henry Cavill, who is a well-known Warhammer enthusiast. He
Yes.
is no longer playing the Man of Steel after he was announced that he would be playing the Man of Steel again, which is unfortunate, but it's a
He
good
got
week
done
for him.
dirty.
Yeah, I don't. We're not going to go into that, but he has announced that there's a deal to do a Warhammer series or film produced by him and starring him. So for you Warhammer fans, if you want somebody who really loves the source material, I thought he did a great job with The Witcher because he enjoyed The Witcher. He played all the Witcher video games and read the novels, and then he portrayed the protagonist in the show. I'm sure he's really going to wrap his arms around this, and it will give all you Warhammer fans who love your lore an opportunity to put your lore up against other Hollywood lores out there. So it'll be a wonderful moment where we can determine, is the lore as good as you guys say it is?
So
I'm needling the Warhammer people just a little bit because you guys talk about your lore a lot.
I love it when you bring something like this because, like, the very next word out of Justin's mouth is usually
Yeah, right.
So stop offending our listeners. I'm kidding. You guys know I love you. Come on.
No, I was gonna say the interesting thing is the rumors are he left being The Witcher because he had issues with how the second and third season played out with the showrunner, who really hadn't ever read any of the Witcher books or played the games or anything like that. So he did not like the way that Geralt of Rivia was kind of being portrayed.
Yeah.
And there was one specific moment that has been cited several times, which was in the second season. His horse gets killed, and he ends up kind of making a joke. Geralt of Rivia makes a joke about it, which is like totally out of character for Geralt, because he loved that horse. You know what I mean? And everybody's like, what? Like all the major Witcher fans. And apparently, like, rumor was that it really rubbed Henry Cavill the wrong way. So he left that. Then was told, "Hey, that's fine. You leave that. You're gonna be you're still gonna be the next Superman." And everyone's like, "Yay, hooray! Like, we love him as Superman," which we do. I do personally.
Yeah, he's great.
And then James Gunn's like, "Yeah, just kidding. I know we said this literally like 3 days ago." So, what I love about this is that Henry Cavill brought the core knowledge that he had to The Witcher into Geralt, and he was an amazing Geralt of Rivia because of that. I think whatever he does with Warhammer 40K, because of his knowledge of it, he's going to pour himself into that. So
it's in his head. It's already in his head.
Exactly. And what I love about this, that I think you're going to see a stark contrast to the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. The showrunners of that show don't really know the lore of Lord of the Rings. They're trying to tell a story, and they're doing an okay job of it, but they're alienating some hardcore fans. I don't think that that'll be the case with this, because with Henry Cavill being the executive producer here, he will ensure that the lore is intact. Now, whether or not you like that lore is a different story.
Right.
But I think he's going to tell the Warhammer 40K story the way that the fans expect it to be told.
I knew something was up when he was posting on social media his tour of the Games Workshop facility.
Right. Yep.
And this would have been about 3 months ago. I was like, this smells like something happening.
Right.
You know, and it's not just him geeking out and fanning out. And it could have been, but I had the feeling that, you know, it's a property that probably has been licensed before, but nothing's ever really happened with it. But, you know, Amazon's got money. You know, they're going to do something. It's not going to be terrible. So, well, I'll watch it. I'm eager to watch it. I'm looking forward to it.
There's a lot of 40K fans around the world that will absolutely watch this, you know. And I think that there's some casual sci-fi people out there that will tune in and enjoy it.
I'm going to have a little clicker for every time I see Space Marine bell-bottom armor.
I'm with you, Dan.
Click.
I struggle with the bell bottom and the giant soldier shoulder pauldrons.
Yeah.
They
That's
just seem
okay.
so impractical to me, but they're holy. So
They're
be
holy,
careful.
so they'll do it. I'm going to make fun of it, but I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down for it. All right, next piece of news. This is pretty cool. The Kickstarter has made over $1.5 billion worth of games. Tabletop gaming games have made $1.5 billion through the Kickstarter platform. So since the company launched, it has made a total of $7 billion
Gosh.
since 2009, and 20% of that has been tabletop games. 20%. So a really important component of crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, we've discussed this at length before, but crowdfunding takes a lot of risk out of putting out tabletop games, and it makes things that were just good ideas into reality. And not every Kickstarter out there is amazing. The article on that cited this on Dicebreaker.com mentioned that there's a 65% success rate with those tabletop games. So there's always about a 35% chance that something's gonna not go the way it should.
And
But
you
nonetheless,
can mitigate that by backing companies that have good fulfillment reputations too, right?
Yeah.
Like Simon's not going to fail you.
Yeah.
Mythic Games is not going to fail you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the fly by night dude who's doing it out of his garage in Peoria, Illinois. Maybe like you better kind of like going knowing that there's a higher risk, and at that point like it's 50-50, right? Because if you take out the big ones that are always like fulfilling, then you're taking like a 50-50 shot probably on whether or not you're going to get a game.
well, and this is a really important data point too, because for a long, long time, and I'm going back to the 80s and 90s, everybody would say, well, how big is the gaming industry? What's the dollar volume on the gaming industry? And the joke was that somebody had done some research on it, and it was about the same dollar volume as opera. Like opera. And everyone went, oh, womp, womp. How much money does opera really make? But now we're in the billions just on one platform alone. And that's really, really exciting. Now, that's not at 1.5 billion per year. That's 1.5 since the platform launched. But still, if Kickstarter's making that much coin, there's a lot of other traditional publishers and other platforms of crowdsourcing where other folks are making real money too. So that's good for the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, like it's been almost 15 years since they launched, and so you're looking at about $100 million a year, just on Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's that's more. I'm gonna stick my neck out there. I think we've beat opera as far as I don't know if we're up to carbonated soda level industry. I don't think we're rivaling Pepsi and Coke yet, but somewhere between opera and Pepsi and Coke, we'll find the gaming industry, the non-video game gaming industry, because I think the video game gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry every year.
Yeah. The other interesting point to me here is that Kickstarter usually takes about 10%, right, of the campaign.
Yeah.
Is that about right? 10%? That means that they've been raking in over the last 15 years $700 million.
Oh man.
So they're making about $50 million a year and getting rich. So
Yeah, I hope that you guys were talking about ways you can kind of cull your risk there, but I've always looked at Kickstarter as the platform to help those to take a risky venture to try to get a game out. Like, I don't go to Kickstarter to try to back a big company. I go to Kickstarter to back the dude who's got a fun idea, who's been playing this game with his buddies, and he wants to take it somewhere else. And I feel, as topic for another day, which we've had a Kickstarter episode before, but I hope that it doesn't become inaccessible to the indie guys that just get lost in the noise, because I think a little bit of that's starting to happen. Unless you get up there and you pay to be the promoted or the exclusive, and you have to get an awesome video on day one because you're only going to have that promoted page for for 12 hours, you're going to get lost in the noise and unfunded. So I don't know. I think it's awesome. It's a great point, the news article, the show that the size of the gaming industry. I just hope that even though that as our size grows in this industry, we still find ways to make it accessible for the little guy.
That's a good point. I mean, I think with Kickstarter, what it's shown is like the rich kind of get richer in a sense. As you get well known, you get more success. As you get more success, you have more budget for marketing.
Well, and you're using a medium.
Videos.
The rich are. We got to be careful because we're just using this as an example, right? We're kind of platonically here. The rich come in to the place where the money is being exchanged by the low folk, and takes it from the low folk even on their platform. And that's kind of what we've seen is the big companies have moved into the platform that the little guys were using, and are gobbling up the money that away from those little guys.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and that's true. However, even in that environment, if you do get noticed, even if you do a small Kickstarter, having money in hand to go to a publisher, if you're going to try to publish a board game or something in a cardboard box, rather than having to come out of pocket yourself, is still a good thing, a really good game changer.
Yep.
Otherwise, you'd just be going around to publish from publisher to publisher, pitching your idea, and they're like, "Well, we get 1,000 pitches a year. You're just noise." You could break through that if you had your own social media community and people, and didn't have a lofty goal, but had a small goal.
Yep. Yeah. It's definitely still opened the door for accessibility.
Yeah. Last item of news for those paying attention. The 1D&D playtest materials are out. They're continually being updated. If you want to do some playtesting for the new 1D&D version, the next version of Dungeons & Dragons to kind of subsume and replace 5th edition, that edition will also have a bigger digital footprint. They just updated. There's a new cleric class that's available, and they're focusing on species rather than race, which is an important thing. And there's some interesting and good changes, some things we've already talked about and seen in 5th edition, and there's other key ideas in the playtest materials that you might find interesting to see the direction of D&D, because wherever D&D goes, everybody else has to pay attention to, because they are the biggest gorilla in the zoo. And that's the news. And I'm going to eat cookies with Santa now.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Dan, for the news. Those were some really interesting topics, and obviously, like our discussion was very much prompted by your news items. So thank you very much.
I try. Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, that brings us to our main topic tonight, Santa's wish list. We want to share the 3 things each of us have for Santa that we hope that he will bring to us. Now, I don't know how half of these things are going to fit into his bag or on the back of his sleigh, but yet somehow we think that we could manage this. So I think I'll kick it off, guys. I think I'll kick it off with what my first thing on the wish list is. So I would like the AK Interactive acrylic paint set. Now, I've seen this in person. I have used this in person when I took the bust painting class from Devin Maurer. He had the AK acrylic briefcase set here. Now, this is an interesting story that's kind of behind this thing, because there's 100 paints in this thing. It's like 275 euros, which translates to about like $275 right now at this point. But it's a ton of paints and colors and things like this. Now, Devin said that he got it as a promotion from AK to, promote it because he's a professional painter. But what was interesting is this came out on the heels of their controversy that happened maybe like 2 years ago. Do you remember that, Jason?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is where they put out like the Colors of War book that was like how to like paint kind of like grisly war scenes with your AK colors. And one of it was like, I think it was Dachau, like Holocaust camp.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Not cool.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't be painting this, guys, like, or using this as inspiration. Which, I mean, like, Was it a great place to show like weathered concrete, rust, and like just overall sadness? Yes, yes, it was. Was it appropriate to put it in a book and market it as like a great thing? No, it wasn't.
We call that poor taste.
Yes, exactly. So because of that, there was a whole uproar in the community, and they were just about to release this briefcase, basically, of all their stuff, and they were going around to different artists being like, could you plug this? Could you plug this? And several of them said no, based on what happened. Well, Devin's like, do you want to give me free paint? Heck yeah, I'll take your free paint.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, it's fine. Like he took it and he's been painting with it. But I used it at this bus class, and let me tell you, I love this paint. Like, this paint is like
What's
amazing.
What's special about
it? What was great is it.
Devin uses it.
Yeah, Devin uses it. That's why. No, what's great is they're coming in little dropper bottles, and if I remember correctly, they had the twist caps, right? So you didn't have to flip up or pull a cap off. You twisted it, dropped it, and then twisted it back down. And I'm not talking about the screw top caps. They're like twist. You know what I mean? Where you twist
like
it
a sports bottle.
Open.
Yeah, like a sports bottle, exactly. So you do it quarter turn, you drop it down, and so you waste minimal paint. I've got scale 75 that has the dropper tops, and some of those get some paint that just comes out the top even after I put the cap on, and ends up getting crusty and stuff like that. So it's really great. The colors are very vibrant. I really like them, and they provide, like, you can thin them way down, so the pigment is nice, finely crushed in there, and the medium works well with it. So you can thin them way down with water, and you put it on there, and you get that coat that you want, that nice coverage, so that, like, when you're painting with them, you don't have to worry about it going too transparent, which is my issue with scale 75, is sometimes it goes too transparent, and you're like, I just want some coverage, my dude, and you have to go over it like 5 times to get coverage over like a black or a white or something like that, which I did not have any issues with that with this scale 75. I really, 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 really liked them. So that would be my first gift choice that I have, would be that briefcase of
Cool.
AK paints. So you can find it at ak-interactive.com and look for the AK briefcase with 100 3-gen colors. And there they are. So that's my first gift. Let's go to Dan. Dan, what's your first? What do you want Santa bring you, my friend?
I'm really stocked up on Legion, but there's one. I don't have any. Well, I do have a couple speeder bikes, but I don't have any like real vehicles. And I really am looking at the Star Wars Legion, the LAAT LE Patrol Transport. It's like a hover transport with kind of TIE Fighter wings on the sides and guns coming out the bottom. It's about a $50 model. This model is a lot more complex than the average Legion model just to do a glue up, and there are pieces of it that you have to kind of paint before you finish glue up because they're interiors, and you can pick the different, you can have a clone trooper in there for the Republic, or you can have a stormtrooper pilot in there for the Empire. And it's a lot more on the model side of modeling. That's the model aisle at the craft store. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So this would be a much more complex project for me. Doing a glue up on a trooper is not nearly as complex as this. So it's about $50. I can't really justify it. That's why I want someone to just buy it for me.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. Bring me Santa baby, bring me some Legion minis tonight. Sorry, that was my Eartha Kitt. As I grind the podcast to a halt. Okay, Jason, you're up.
Yeah, well, that's funny because my actual first one that I had was Star Wars Legion. I've wanted to get into into Legion so that I could come to the tabletop and play with you guys.
Yeah.
So I don't want a ton. I just want one that I can kind of build and bring to the table just to play, a standard point. So let me ask you, Dan, what would a starting point value be for an army? Because I've heard 500, I've heard 800.
Well, there's two different versions of the game, right? There's a skirmish.
I'm out.
There's a skirmish game which is smaller. So unlike some other games, like there's the skirmish version of Age of Sigmar is Warcry, but Warcry has a totally different rule set, right? But if you're just doing a full army, a basic army, that is, I'm double checking here because I don't want to lie, it's 800 points. So 800 points. Yeah.
800 points. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I think that there was a boxed Imperial set
Yeah.
that was coming out, and I think at one point you said get with that, and then the next time I talked to you, you were like, don't get that if you want a good army.
No, I just
So
decided I didn't want to wait for it. Okay, that one comes with an ATST, so you're already bringing armor to bear, and it's got like 4 speeder bikes in it, but it has snowtroopers that are better than stormtroopers, and has Darth Vader as your main commander and as your force user. It really is a good box.
Yeah, I mean it looks fun, and I'm not interested in meta-ing.
Yeah.
More so is just playing with friends. So
Yeah, no.
and I've always been an Imperial guy, so that's on my top of my wish list, is to be able to play that game with some buddies.
Yeah, I made the mistake of like going on podcasts and like getting in the meta, and then I had money in my hand that I had to spend on minis. And I'm like, well,
It was
I'll
like me
just-
when I was playing Magic.
yeah, it's
trying
like,
to do
well, I guess I'll just chase the meta, and most of my games are snapshots and what was hot in the meta when I decided to
Yeah.
invest. But
Always chasing the meta means always shelling out money.
I've never actually played the game yet. I mean, that's how
Oh,
messed
really?
up I am. So
That's hilarious.
I mean, so
Well, we're gonna fix that.
we're gonna fix that. I've got an appointment maybe with John as soon as he gets back from his holiday travel. But no, we'll fix it. It's tough, man. Sitting down and playing these games is tough. But anyway,
All right, so that's my first one.
I want you to get it. I want you to get it really bad.
So
play.
so I've played Legion more than Dan has. I
Yes.
played it twice.
Yeah,
I've played it
Interesting.
once.
but I've been doing list building and
Yeah.
surfing YouTube, and I'm still a newbie. I'm gonna put myself in the newbie category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, and the skirmish game is 500 points, by the way. Same
Oh,
game,
nice,
just
okay.
less points. Exact same
Nice.
game. Less
Yeah,
points.
so as long as you got 800, you can play skirmish.
Yep. Or you can play you can play a tournament with 800 points. There's probably 800 points in that new Imperial box. I'd be shocked if you couldn't do 800 points. If you're throwing down Vader in an ATST, there's half your list right there, and that's in the box. So you should be fine. Cool. All right. Back to you, Justin.
I think Jason's up.
Jason just did
Yeah, so
his
Star Wars
already.
Legion. It
Oh
was
yeah,
good.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, I thought that was all. I thought that was all Dan talking
Yeah,
about.
it kind of rolled off of Dan because we both
yeah.
had kind of the same.
Well,
same
you
thing for
asked
the
me a
first one.
question. I had to answer it, honestly.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's
Dan,
true.
Dan helped out.
All right. So you guys are like high fiving over there, and I'm like, okay, I just guess I'll be over
What's your
here
second
with
one,
my
Justin?
paint set. Okay, so my second one that I have is a camera. It's an EOS Rebel T7 EF-7 18 to 55 millimeter IS2 kit. It's a lot of technical jargon for basically a Canon DSLR camera. And why do I want this? Because I would like to start streaming more of my hobby time stuff. And I tried to do this a little bit with my phone, and that just didn't cut the mustard.
So let me ask you
And-
a question.
Yeah.
Why this model specifically?
So this model came highly recommended for streamers
By
by streamers.
I love it. Yep.
I mean, it's got like a good camera. It's got a 24.1 megapixel camera, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff. But I think it does well in terms of being your proxy laptop camera.
Yeah.
I can't tell you much more than that because I haven't really studied it. But if someone were to get this for me, like, Santa, I wouldn't say no. It's, on sale for $399 right now.
Yeah, I feel like that's once you get into the I want a good quality camera for streaming that's not my phone. You're in the $300 to $700 price range, and I think once you go into that price range, you're gonna have such a stand-up quality above what we're used to with our phones that you'll be happy with it for sure.
Yeah, and I think that $300 to $700 price range that you talk about is the starter, like, good camera, right? Because you could go up to like $1,800 or $2,000 or something like that. And I don't know that you have to if you're just streaming things like that.
You get into diminishing returns.
Yeah, right, for sure.
You're spending $50,000 for one more tiny little dB of support there. But
So,
asymptotically approaching perfection.
Yes, exactly. The other thing is, like, if I had this camera, I would also use it to photograph miniatures. I have yet to be able to. I've seen videos where they're like, "Oh, just use your iPhone or your Google phone or whatever it is, your Android, and
it's okay.
take, and it's fine. Like, you have to go into the pro mode and mess around with the settings, but it's just you're not gonna get the same return without like the actual like lenses and things like that, and I know that lighting is a big part of it, and so if you're not lighting your area very well, your miniatures are not going to look as good as what you see on some of these Instagram pages, but I also do believe having a good camera will make a difference, so anyway, that's
cool.
So so for $400, that's my next one.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, my gifts so far have been in like the $300-$400 range.
And you know what? So far, those gifts are small enough to fit in Santa's backpack.
They have. They are. But just wait for the third one.
Oh, baby.
Dan, what's your second one?
All right, I'm going to help Jay out again real quick. That box, that Star Wars Legion box that hasn't come out yet, just with no upgrades alone, with Vader, 3 core units, three units of stormtroopers, which they can be augmented with extra bodies, a couple of speeder bikes and an ATST. That's 617 points out of 800 with no upgrades. So you can add more personnel, more hard points, more guns, more force powers on Vader, and you're going to be in 800
cool.
Fat City. Also, like I said, the skirmish game is 500. A grand game is 1,600, and a team game is 600. So
how many points did you say that box would total up again?
I just went on tabletopadmiral.com, and I added Darth Vader, 3 groups of snow troopers, 2 speeder bikes, and 1 ATST. Is 617 points right now. And
so
that's
what
with
you're telling me is
no
I can
upgrades.
buy that box and still not have enough to play a game.
No, I'm telling you, there's plenty of room to. I bet you there's
right.
no.
Glass
You got to
full.
upgrade everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's cool. Yeah.
Like you're gonna you got to spend money to, instead of having 4 snow troopers in your unit, you got to spend an extra 10 points to get your 5th trooper, and then you got to spend another 10 points to get a guy with a flamethrower. Or a guy with a big gun, right? And that's I'll bet you you're going to get really you'll be at 800 points in the box. That's my guess.
I wonder if it's one. Okay, cool.
So
sounds good.
I want to give you and our listeners detailed, accurate information.
Real-time updates by
there we
Dan.
go. That's right.
Okay.
Do one of those podcasts, like at the end of the podcast, they have a cleric that's doing fact checking the whole time and corrects them at the very end.
A cleric or a clerk?
Clerk, whatever. Clerk.
I'm like a cleric doing it.
Yeah, cleric.
He's doing invocations.
Yeah.
Yeah. A clerik and not a D&D one, like an actual
a clerical
Catholic
clerk.
cleric.
Would be funny if it was a paladin. You have lied, and we will smite you for lying.
That's right.
I didn't know I was lying.
Peer at my holy symbol now.
All right,
good.
it's my turn. It's going to be real simple. It is not available in stores, but I believe in Christmas miracles. If those untrained elves can make Xboxes and PlayStations in the North Pole, there's a new line of Army Painter speed paint coming out. I'm super excited about this. They went out to some awesome YouTubers and made them kind of the kind of the a group of people to help them develop the colors that actual painters actually need, and to make upgrades to the chemistry. So there's a few problems with speed paint with it reactivating, and sometimes that's a feature because you can blend. It's easier to blend Army Paint or speed paint than it is anything else, even after it dries. Kind of like an oil paint. Sometimes that's a feature, not a bug. If you know what's happening, if you don't know what's happening, it can be frustrating. However, they're coming out with a whole new set of pigments, a whole new set of colors, and a new medium chemistry that's coming out this year. I've been watching the YouTube videos on it. Once again, some of my favorite YouTubers, Brent from Goobertown Hobbies is one of their guys, and Dana Howell is a great painter who I watch on YouTube. She was also invited, along with 3 other guys that are just fantastic. So Army painters reaching out to influencers, and they're doing a really great job of engaging the community on what the community wants in a line of paints, and that's exciting to me. And that's my main paint, and I just augment with contrast, and I augment with other types of acrylics. So that's what I want for Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna take a miracle. I might just have to wait for the summer.
I love this, actually. I think it's great that they're doing this, because when they first came out with their speed paints and people started to recognize the reactivation, that it was cool, and then people started to say, wait a minute, this actually is kind of a problem too. Army, I feel like Army painters' response was, that's intentional. That's just how our paints work. And everyone was like, it's not really like super awesome. Like we're kind of struggling with it. And they were like, it's you guys just need to learn how to use our paints.
Yeah.
But now they've kind of, I think this is them recognizing that, okay, we got it. We learned. We got version 2 coming, and it's going to be great. So I'm excited to see this next speed paint, because I have really enjoyed wet blending with them, but I've started to hit many snags where like the reactivations actually kind of messed up my paint job, and I've had to go back and repair it.
And you don't want to wait the 24 hours for a full cure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've been able to do things with zombies on fire with that reactivation, so it looks like the cloth is heating up, and
it's really
it can be
useful
fun, but it can also kind of smack you upside the head at the wrong moment when you're. It's hard. It benefits somebody who's painting lots and lots of minis at the same time. If you're focusing on one important mini and you're using speed paint, you're going to keep hitting that I better let this dry out wall on a regular basis. But they're working on it. It should be better. I don't know. We'll find out. And blow dryers work too if you need to get stuff to cure faster. Heat guns work great for accelerating dry time. But I'm not going back. I'm loving it. I never get tired of it. I love the way it feels. I like the viscosity. I like the way it covers. I like the way it looks after it dries. And every time I go back to regular acrylics, I go, I wish this was better. So that's what I want. I want a Christmas miracle, or I'll just spend a whole bunch of money when it comes out on the market later in the year.
Nice.
Which means I'm going to rebuy every color in the new formula, and I don't care. I don't care.
Okay.
I'm into it. I'm down for the struggle.
Yeah, do it.
All right, that's my thing. Go for it, Jason.
My second one is Twilight Inscription.
Oh.
I had a lot of fun playing this when we demoed it at Gen Con. I thought it was very true to the feel and the theme of Twilight Imperium universe. And I don't know if it's one that would come out a lot, but I'd like to have it on my shelf, because I love 4X space games. I love games that have asynchronous play, and this game has asynchronous play in 2 ways, because if you remember, there are actually different style of boards, even for the same thing you're doing. Like if you're doing research, there actually were different research boards available, and then depending on how the dice rolls every turn, players can do different things. You can decide to visit your industry board, your navigation board, or your warfare board, just depending on what you wanted to do. So I feel like there's a lot of replayability in every time you play with people. And I like the concept of roll and write. I think it's a neat game mechanic. So I'm excited for that, to play that again sometime, and would love to have that in my stocking.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that we ditched our RPG game plan that morning. Even though we still yet to play a game of Starfinder. But it was well worth being able to sit down and do that Twilight Inscription roll and write, because you're right, it was a lot of fun and definitely kind of a different game format than a lot of people are used to playing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's like modern day bingo.
Yeah, and there was still that form of combat with, the way the card was split. You could have kind of a left and a right attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of at the end of the, I don't know what you call them, like rounds after a series of turns, you would see who had built up combat on your left side and combat on your right side. So I really enjoyed the game. It'd be fun to play it again.
Definitely. I think, does John have it?
Lincoln has it. I don't know
has
if
it.
John has it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we should play it.
Yeah, we should.
We should do it.
What's your third one, Justin?
All right. So this is the one that Santa's going to break his back on, literally. It is a gaming table that we saw at Gen Con when we were there. And both you and I, Jason, I think we were together when we saw this. We're like, wow, that is a cool table. And I know that we have a table building expert here, and Dan.
Well, thank
you. He's done a good job in terms of building his own table from scratch and things like that. I know I don't think I've got the skills to do it, and so if I had a cool $7,000, I'd be happy to drop it here on the Harbinger, which is their gaming table. So if you go to theweathereddragon.com, you'll see the table that I'm talking about that they had at Gen Con. It's a square table. It has a hollow middle section that you can put a topper on. So you could, put your miniatures and things like that in the space, and then put your table over it if you need to use the top for it. Or if you just have like a game that has a mat, you can put the topper on and then put your mat over it as well. What I love about this is the 4 posts have these cool like gargoyles on it, and they have lamps that are like working lamps that and I think that an option, if I remember correctly, Jason, you could have like a bowl that had like fire in it, right? Like
you can get like a torch pylon instead of the lamps.
Yeah, so you could either have lamps or torch pylons. I think both look very cool. I love the lamp look, and having those as kind of your lighting on the table really brings like a cool feel to it.
Yeah.
And the way that the wood is and the crafting there, like it makes it feel like it's just, when we saw it in person, it was a very well put together table, very solid.
The thing looks
had
heavy.
It does, right?
In a good way. In a good way. Look, you get 8 guys around a table. It needs to have some. It needs to have some girth.
Yeah, it does, and it needs to be sturdy, right? That can take a beating. You can fit 8 people comfortably around it, and you've got your accessories. You've got lights in the table, like you have, Dan, on your table. There's a whole bunch of different upgrades you can do. There's like a whole like DM section that you can like attach to one of the ends that has like a whole area that you can put laptops.
They have cubbies in here. Mine has cubbies. Yep. That's exciting. I like it when my ideas also are available for purchase. I'm like, cubbies,
I really like
man.
the DM. I like the DM station on that one side.
It's really cool. The DM station.
Yeah.
So if they use nice Dan, again, you use felt in yours, right? They use
No, I didn't. I used.
Oh, you didn't.
That's
right.
I used leather, and then I
used dragon scales.
I used leather, and then I had some leather problems, and I put a faux leather vinyl on top of my leather, and then on top of that, there's an acrylic. There's just it's just like it's just an acrylic plate plexiglass.
Yeah, so these guys use poker table felt on theirs, right? Which I like a lot, especially if you have cards and things that you're putting down on that. It's much easier to pick them up than sometimes I don't know if you guys have noticed this on some of these gaming tables. You put a card down, it is like impossible to pick up that card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like impossible.
Yeah, I
So-
decided against it because my kids would spill on it and it would make me mad.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I've already
you're
I've
not
already
wrong.
spilled on that table enough times to make it worth it.
Yeah.
But no, if you're
Yeah.
around grown-ups, it's not that big of a deal. And the fact that there's 4 posts and each post comes, it looks like about 5 feet up off the ground or 4.5 feet, 4 3/4 feet off the ground, and they have like gargoyles on them. And the lighting is in a good place because the lighting is kind of behind you or off to your shoulder, which means it's shining down on the book that you're reading as a player and it's shining onto the table. And that's a really good place for lighting. Especially if you don't have a lot of control over the light fixture in the room you're going to put it in. But this is not a dining table replacement, by the way.
No.
This is not a stealth gaming table pretending to be a dining room table.
Right.
This is like a get it, assemble it in your basement, and then you're never moving out of that
You're
house.
never moving out of that house again. Did you guys see the crate that like it comes in? Did you see that? It's on the Facebook page.
Oh yeah.
They've got like a crate, and I mean, it's like you could be putting like, I don't know, like it's the same size of crate that they put the Ark of the Covenant in at the end of Indiana Jones.
Shipping alone is.
You know.
I hope that's part of the. I hope shipping is included in the cost.
I bet it's not. I
bet
wonder.
it's not.
Actually, Jason, I wonder if that's why it was 10,000 at Gen Con. If that included.
Oh, probably
by shipped.
Maybe 3,000's a lot, but
It is.
I could see like 1,500 for shipping,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on
but-
insurance and all that. This is not a. This table is. It is like Dan said. It looks heavy, right? And it's probably. If I remember, I was talking with a guy at Gen Con. It is like high quality top wood.
Yes.
This is a high class gaming table.
Yeah.
And Santa may have a hard time sticking this in his pack.
Yeah, it's good to dream though. That's the
Santa
whole
might drop
point of
ship
this
this.
episode is to dream big. Dream big.
That's right. I mean, the other part
You
is
get a
like
coupon. That's what you're gonna get from Santa.
exactly. That's right. The other part is that I need to dream big enough to have a place that I could put this in my house as
Yeah.
well. So that's also me getting like a much bigger house and
And you got a big backyard. You could just build a house around the table.
a gaming shed.
A gaming shed. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually would be kind of cool.
I'll help you build
Yeah.
that too. No, I think if whatever I did Mark II or my ability to help other people to do a better job than what I did, because like I learned from a lot of my mistakes and I'm living with a lot of my mistakes and that's okay. But now I know more about what I like and about what works and what's functional. I'm looking at this table. If you guys go to theweathereddragon.com, there's weathered and then dragon. Remember to hit that extra D. You'll see the aerial shot of this thing they did with the drone. And I can't imagine how this thing disassembles to be moved. I'm
Yeah.
sure it does. I'm sure it has a disassemble thing, and that's probably what you're paying for. My other huge paranoia with any table with LED lighting that the LED string goes bad and then it just doesn't work forever. So I built in an escape hatch so I could pull out my LED string carefully and restring it with another thing because I don't know how to buy industrial grade LED lights that are going to hold up for 20, 30 years. I just basically got whatever they had on Amazon. That I could control with my phone. But this is really great. There's a lot of things about this one that I really like. It's probably much more functional than it looks when you first pull it up on their website. Because if you look real close, they've got extra outlets in those posts. That's that's a hard problem to solve. Lighting is a problem that I ran into, and it has built-in lighting. In 5 different ways. The table surface is lit and each of the corners is lit, and that is great because lighting really matters when you're doing this. So I'm excited. I'd love to copy this mother and try to attempt to do my own version of it. That'd be fun. I think it's doable.
I don't know that I see the dimensions of this table
Yeah.
on here, but I know, like, it's a square table, right? The Harbinger's a square table, but I think it looks like it might be 5 feet wide, maybe. What do you think? 4 feet?
It
4.5?
was wide enough to where it was hard to reach over from one end to the other.
Right.
In fact, I
Yes.
think the guy was trying to show us. He's like, no, look, it's so accessible, and he actually he had to stand up on something, and he could reach
Yeah.
over. See, I can reach every part of the table. I was like, dude, you're standing on something.
Right. And he's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the
Okay.
thing. The bigger, the more people you accommodate, the harder it is to reach the middle or 3/4 of the middle of the table.
Yep.
I'm sure
So-
you could figure out the lighting. The problem is you get two.
If you want to have a seance, this is not your table.
If you have two,
Unless you have a lot of people.
if you have
I guess
two
that's true.
adults sitting shoulder to shoulder, you have to watch that dimension. Otherwise, they're cuddling the whole time. You know, you
Right.
really have to watch that. And then you're like, oh, well, I'm going to give everybody plenty of room. Oh, you've decided you've just made something that doesn't fit into your room.
Right.
So it's all these choices that you have to make.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably 5 feet by 5 feet. That's my rough thought. Which, if that's the case, you could still play a game of like Age of Sigmar or 40K on this table, because the mat size is 5 feet by it's 40 by 60 inches.
Yeah.
You know, or 44 by 60 inches is the mat,
Yeah.
which would be great. I mean, that would be a great perfect table size if you're going right up to the edge. So, anyway, yeah. So that's my other one. Hopefully, Santa, from my lips to Santa's ears, Santa, please deliver to my address. I'll upload it to the northpole.com.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. What do we got next?
It's my turn. I think I really do want another warband. I really only own one warband. That it's probably worth 2 warbands now, because I have enough minis in my faction to do 2 warbands if I wanted to. But I really want another faction. And I love Warcry minis. I love the quality of the Games Workshop sprues and how well they glue together, how well they're thought out. And there's just a higher quality experience. And the sculpts are really, really fantastic, especially for Warcry. All of their different warbands are just look amazing. And I don't like fantasy. You guys know me. I'm a huge sci-fi guy. This is the first time I've really been sinking my teeth into fantasy, and I'm down for it. So I hope I hope there's a little bit of Amazon money, and I get a little itch and go get another Warcry warband so we can play more.
Well, you chose the right fantasy, in my opinion, because I think Warcry miniatures are maybe the best fantasy miniatures that Games Workshop puts out as a whole. I mean, you could argue that some of the Warhammer Underworlds models are really, I mean, those are like some really amazing models, but that's pretty niche. I mean, you only get like 4 models in a box. But in terms of like Warcry, I think those models and that they're coming out with are the best of Age of Sigmar, and I think that they even are the best of Games Workshop, because while the fantasy ones are really good, you've talked about the Space Marine bell bottoms, you know, and the big shoulder pauldrons, right? Which, I mean, they're kind of iconic Space Marine looking things, but the Space Marines represent more than half of the 40K models that are out there. You know, and there's some really cool 40K models, don't get me wrong, but I think as a whole, Warcry may be the best Games Workshop models.
I think there's
here.
a lot of creativity in every sculpt in Warcry, and they're always inspiring. Even when I'm playing with your warbands, I always look at the minis and go, holy crap, there's nothing I don't like about these minis. Even the crappy ones, even the chaff are just so well done. And I love Star Wars. I love me some Star Wars. I'll never stop loving Star Wars until my last dying breath on this earth. But as far as capturing kind of a new imagination space, Warcry is really good. So I'm digging it, and I want to this year. I don't want the Christmas list to be so much of a New Year's resolution episode. We'll do that later. But yeah, I really want to get more into it and have more at my disposal.
So, also, Jason, I'd like to point out the evolution that has happened this year with Dan. Right? Do you remember when he first tried assembling that first Daughters of Cain model?
Yeah.
and it was these models suck. These are the worst models ever. I hate them so much. And which, by the way, assembling the Daughters of Cain is like just under the level of hell of assembling Nighthaunt Spirit Host.
And you were using Gorilla Glue.
Yeah.
I was using the wrong glue. I needed a
the
lot
wrong
of help.
glue,
I needed a real Sherpa.
Yeah. So, which is so funny because we're like, Dan, it's cool. Be patient. We'll walk you through this. We promise. And it's so funny because I have heard the same things from other people, which is, oh, I don't like Games Workshop stuff. They're too complicated. It's hard to build, hard to paint, all those things. Like, I love Reaper's minis, or I love, WizKids minis, or something more simple to build, like, even Star Wars Legion or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, that's where I like. And that's kind of where you were, Dan, until you kind of got the right tools you needed.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like your mind was unlocked to the potential of what could be,
Well, it adds another dimension. I know it's kind of cliche. It becomes a much more three-dimensional hobby, and I don't mean to be too punny about that, but it's like if you think about playing a CCG as a one-dimensional game, and a basic skirmish game where stuff comes pre-painted or requires very little crafting to get it on the table.
Like an X-Wing or something.
Like an X-Wing.
Right?
That's a two-dimensional game. You pop the blister pack open, you put the model on the peg, and you go, now we're ready to play at this moment. There's another level there to making your own pieces that is way more satisfying than I ever imagined it would be. And I should not have picked these sexy little bikini ladies, to paint up. But it made me raise my game, too. It was hard, and I sucked at it at first, and it forced me to be better at it than maybe I would have if I was assembling something a little dumber. But I did learn the hard way, and I messed up a couple models, and man, when I know I'm wasting money, that's when I turn my brain on. And so it becomes a problem that you solve, which is cool, and that's part of gaming, too, is problem solving. And so yeah, it's good.
There's something about ownership with it too, right? When you put that effort in to make it, build it, and you're like putting on the weapons, you're putting on the arms, you're doing the legs, like when you get done painting that, that model.
Yeah.
Like, that is yours. It is part of you at that point, And I mean, I look at all the ones that I have painted, and I know exactly what model it is. I know exactly what the name is of that thing. And then I look at ones that have been on my shelf and not painted, and I have to continually go back and be like, what model is that again? I'm not 100% sure. But I know that if I go through the painting and, hobbying process with that it is, it becomes like a part of my repertoire because I know it. It is my own, and I call it by name, And
the game has to be fun, and that's the other thing that you guys did that was awesome. You're like, hey, I've got war bands. Let's get a little tournament going. Nobody has to bring anything but their willingness to play. Yeah. And then you're like, wow, that war band was fun. I think I know what I like about doing this one. And then before you know it, you're like, well, okay, I'm ready to spend money and get my own. So bravo, guys. It's good. And you know what? To our listeners out there, you got to constantly be trying something new. I mean, if I could get into a time machine and tell myself a year ago, hey, this is what you're really going to be excited about, I'd be like, liar. So anyway, yeah, I'll hand it over to Jason. Thank you for letting me go long on that one.
Well, that's okay. I'll go short on mine. So I, too, would like a new warband list. I played a lot of Flesh Eaters. I've played a lot of Ogres through 1 and into 2. I have always wanted to play Slaves to Darkness because I love the theme of Slaves to Darkness. These, kind of corrupt warriors who are like teetering on the brink of, demonic influence and kind of signing their souls over for the sake of battle, but not quite in the corn space, like the total demonic influence. And I love the models. And I really, really want to build a Slaves to Darkness warband that has the Chaos Lord on the Drake, because I think it's just an amazing looking model. Even though you can't get that model except through aftermarket means right now. I'm hoping that they re-release it in a new box here. But
there's an AOS box that probably doesn't have what you're looking for
Actually, it's not. It's completely off their.
It-
that model is unaccessible through Games Workshop.
You just
at
have to
this
get
point.
it through somebody who already bought it, paint it, and wants to sell it.
Or is selling the initial Slaves to Darkness
Box.
start collecting box.
Start collecting box.
Offline. And I'm pretty sure they pulled them to because they're probably revamping a box with that model, because that's a great model, and that model's only been out for a little while. But anyways, it's an amazing model. It's, if not the most expensive fighter unit in the game, not including monsters. It's 375 points for that guy.
Ooh, baby.
I mean, that is more expensive than some monsters. And honestly, I don't think his stat profile is worth his point values, but that's for our, that's a topic for our Warcry episodes.
Yeah.
Is he more than the Tyrant?
Oh yeah, the Tyrant's 315.
Really?
I think the Tyrant's 315. Yeah.
But I think the Tyrant's profile is better than his.
It is. This guy.
It's the movement.
That's it. It's the movement, because he's got an 8 and he has a double that can get him. Oh no, he's got a triple that can get him to 10. Anyways, his profile's okay. It's 5 attack, strength 5, 3/5, which is massive damage. Too. So he is a force to be reckoned with. I just don't know if he's worth 375 points of force. But the dude is a freaking awesome looking model, and I just think it'd be really fun to field a Slave to Darkness. So that's on my wish list, to actually build hobby and play a true to form Slave to Darkness warband.
And he's on a lizard type guy.
Yeah, he's
Mount?
on a
Jason.
It's a Carcadrock Drake.
Chaos Lord on a Carcadrak.
Yeah.
$24.50 with Dutch.
With our buddy.
Yep.
There you go.
So I mean, you can get it for $24.50 right now.
Santa can still
$24.50.
deliver on time. It's a Christmas miracle.
You could.
I expect it to be in the stocking, Santa. And Santa
Yep.
can source from Dutch. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and look, I was gonna say that here's kind of a hilarious thing. I have the new Slaves to Darkness box in my house right now, but not because I wanted to buy it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have that model in it. But
No, it does not. But it does have some of the new builds, which are really good. Like the new Chaos Knights look really amazing. The new Chaos Warriors look absolutely menacing.
they do.
And I love the old Chaos Warriors. I thought they looked really cool before, but now, like with some of their poses, they look really cool. Really cool.
It's interesting to see. I haven't looked closely at the new box. I know in some 40K lines and in like the Lord of the Rings set, Games Workshop is starting to move away from hero scale. They're having more models that don't have the hero scale, which is like the kind of oversized hands and heads.
Yeah.
And weapons.
Yeah.
Like you can see that, and I think the Primaris in 40K. Some people have done comparisons of like older models of the Primaris versus new ones, and like the heads and the hands are more proportionate to what a normal human proportion would be versus before. So it's a little less kind of cartoony and more serious. So I'd be curious to see if they're going to start moving that direction in AOS or not. I feel like they haven't really. They're still like very hero scale focused in their Warcry and AOS, but that's a little bit of a side tangent.
Yeah, I mean, like with the models kind of being fantasy, right, and some of the cool poses that they're making. If you watch any of the really good artists out there, like they're focusing in on that face, upper torso a little bit, and maybe the hands and weapon. And I think I made a comment one time where one of the great painters, like, they painted the whole thing and they left the boots primed gray. And they showed it off, and nobody noticed that they had like not painted the boots, because like they're so focused on the things that draw the eye that, they're saying like you can spend your time here and do a terrible job in the other places and nobody's going to notice. Anyway, so yeah, I think that hero scale kind of helps lend to that image as well,
It does. What it does do is it makes it hard at times to mix other, which is, could be a good or a bad thing. It makes it hard to mix 32 millimeter models from other systems into AOS if you're doing conversions or anything like that.
Yeah. Like I've got a unit of 20 Frostgrave cultists that I thought would be fantastic marauders.
Oh.
You know, because they're holding like maces and flails and crossbows, and they've got all these crazy hats and looking, you know, like really menacing looking and stuff like that, and they'd be awesome, but they don't have the same hero scale, so they look like little like goblins compared to, you know, some of the Chaos Warriors. So,
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So Slaves of the Darkness, I think that could be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be very cool. I'm all in favor of you doing it. And for $24.50, you can get started.
Yeah, it's a good model.
Yeah. So anyway, well, very good, guys. I hope that all of our Christmas wishes come true. I'm not holding my breath for mine, but you guys have some very reasonable ones that I think could come true, even in the post or even in the Christmas aftermarket. Maybe, you know, you could see some action in the aftermarket. So I know that there are a couple of years where I'm like, that's fine that my wife didn't get me the one thing that I really asked for. I'll get it myself.
She doesn't even check anymore. And she comes down and she looks at all my crap and says, you should just be grateful for all the stuff that you've bought for yourself. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
My kids tell me all the time, you can't have any models until you paint the ones you have. And I just look at them and I said, says who?
Says who? Says who? Yeah,
So.
just a note on that. I'm like, man, I guess I shouldn't be spending so many late nights on the Star Wars Army because I'm going to miss it when it's done being painted.
Yeah.
Dad's going around the whole house opening up board games looking for models to paint.
Just get more. That's all you need
Just
to
get
do.
more.
Just get more.
That's the solution. Buy more.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody, for giving us a listen tonight. We'd love to hear what's on your wish list. So, you know, leave a comment, share us on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter. Like, let us know. What do you got in your Christmas wish list? And hopefully your Christmas dreams come true. Until the next time, keep the dice rolling, and have a great night, everybody.
Bye-bye.